Okay, so I'm now recording this as well. All right, so we put in our title. Let's just call it score for now. Um, and I'm just going to start with a treble clef here, and then we'll see how we're going to modify that. I could use a template here, but I'm not gonna use a template because then I have to modify it after the fact. So I'm just going to start with this treble clef, and then I'll show you what we'll do after that. Okay, so here's our basic setup. I'm going to separate it into 4-bar sections. Now, if you go to the edit dialog, you'll see down here it says instruments, and the shortcut for this is just the letter I on your computer keyboard. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit I, and here's what comes up. Um, so let's say I'm going to set this up basically the way I showed you on the PowerPoint. So I'm going to start with vocal. Here's, you can see there's several different options for vocal, so I'm just going to put voice for now. So you click on voice, and then you come over here and click add. So it'll add that to your score over here. And then I'm going to go, next thing I want is guitar. So guitar you'll find under plucked strings. So I'm going to come down here to plucked strings, and I'll just, pick my pick my poison here. I'm going to go with electric guitar, and we'll add. Then electric bass is also under here, so I'm going to put electric bass. It also says bass guitar. That's the same instrument, so I'm not sure why there's both, but I guess it depends on what you'd like to call it. Electric bass. So then we'll go up here, and you'll see percussion pitched and percussion unpitched. Um, drum set is an unpitched instrument, so there it is, drum set, and we'll add that. And I'm just going to go up to staff 1 here, and I'm going to remove this because otherwise I have an extra piano part that I don't need. This was the original treble clef staff that I had. I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to remove it. So now I only have the 4 instruments that I want to. Oh, I'm missing keyboard. Oops. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, keyboards. We'll make a piano. I'll put add, and I put it here. I just want to move the guitar. Uh, there. There we go. If I want to move instruments up and down, there are these up and down arrow keys, so I could move there's the guitar, but I don't want it there. I want it above the piano. Not all the way up there. Okay, there we go. Now I'll click OK, and there you go. There's my score all set up. So this is like, unlike the lead sheet, which is just the single line with the chord changes and the melody and the lyrics, you're going to have individual parts for each instrument with this setup. All right. And we've already talked a bit about bass notation. We're starting to talk about drum notation. We'll talk about it some more. And guitar and keyboard we haven't gotten to yet, but we will. Okay, so questions so far? Everybody saw how I got to there? So I, you don't need to do Command I, just I is your, that's your instruments dialog shortcut, or you can find it under Edit. Okay,
How
so
would you how would you
sorry.
start this? Would you do like choose one instrument first and then do the whole thing, or would you work at it slowly on multiple instruments?
Oh, in terms of when I'm actually crafting the arrangement?
In terms of yeah, writing the arrangement.
That's a really good question. So um, what I would say, here's what I would do first before I even set a note to the score. What I would do is start by writing in words a sketch of the arrangement. So plan your arrangement. So and when I say, do a sketch, literally write, okay, 4 bar intro, instrumental, um, piano and bass, um, and then, you know, uh, verse one, acoustic guitar, voice, and flute, you know, um, uh, chorus, drums enter kind of thing, so map out the shape of your arrangement before you even, write a note. And then the next thing that you want to do is sort of have a lead sheet. And so one of the reasons I wanted to do the lead sheet assignment as a precursor to this is because you may want to use the song that you wrote your lead sheet um, for your as the basis for your arrangement. I would recommend doing that, although but you don't have to. It's not a requirement. But if you don't, I would recommend having a lead sheet handy to refer to, either writing one or finding one for your song. And then, in terms of what you're asking, in terms then, having done that, like, should I write one part all the way through or do it in sections? That's really up to you. I think my tendency is if I'm writing a score, uh, I like to sort of fill in the parts for one section. So I might focus on the A section or the verse or whatever, and I would maybe start by writing in the vocal melody, and then I would fill in the other parts, whatever I'm using for that section. And then I would, and then once I had all the parts for that one section, then I would kind of go on to the next section. And, all the way along, I'm going to be going back and editing. I might get my verse finished, and then I might do the chorus and think, well, if I'm going to do the chorus this way, then this thing that I did in the verse doesn't really work as well. So I'm going to go back and change that, but you sort of will have that framework to work from. It's like something that you can just keep fine tuning.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, any other questions?
When we did the lead sheet, you said it could be an original, right? Does that mean this could be an original, or would you prefer like a cover?
I have no preference, but in fact, if you want to do an original, I love that. You know, I think that's great. I'm totally happy to have you do an original because I think um, you'll have the opportunity to have one of your songs brought to life. In fact, one of my goals with this project, and it depends on a bunch of factors, but I'm hoping that I can talk to John, and I'm hoping that somehow, like in a similar way to the way we've been working the ensembles, we can actually bring some of these arrangements to life, do Pro Tools sessions, and have like maybe a combination of faculty and students actually play your arrangements and record them so that you actually get a chance to hear what they sound like, uh, not played by cheesy MuseScore samples. you know. Um, and by the way, actually, in the last class, somebody asked me if you're required to use MuseScore, and the answer is no. If you prefer to write out your score by hand, as long as you can be relatively legible and neat with it, I'm totally fine with handwritten scores. Um, where that's going to become a limitation is when you do individual parts. So this is another thing that we need to talk about because once you've mapped out your score, you're not going to hand a full score to individual musicians most of the time. That's going to be unwieldy. No guitar player is gonna want to have to try to pick their part out from a bunch of different parts. Um, You know, the worst experience I ever had with that was I was at a music camp when I was young, and this guy was working with the big band, and he brought in a full big band score, and he hadn't had time to copy parts out, and so he gave everybody a copy of the full score. So it was just ridiculous because literally I had to read 4 bars of music, and then like first of all I had to find the piano part, you know, and this is a big band. This is not like a rock group like this. This is like, you know, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, 5 saxophone parts, 4 rhythm section parts. Where's the piano part? Okay, there it is. Read 4 bars and then flip to the next page and find my part again, you know? So, no. You know, so what you want to do, you want to write your score. This is for the conductor, or if it's for reference, it's for you as the composer and arranger to be able to look at all the parts and see how they all line up together. Um, and then what you're going to do, and this is cool, this is the beauty of programs like MuseScore and Sibelius. You're going to come over here to File, and see down here it says Parts. So now I'm going to click on this and select all parts. So so here are all my instruments. They're all showing up here. Um, and then down here it says instruments in part. So don't be confused by this. This is just telling you, like, you can put 2 instruments on one part if you want. That isn't what we're going to do. You want to have 1 instrument on each part. So voice is going to be 1 part, guitar, piano, bass, drums. So if I click OK, watch this magic. Now here are all my parts. So here's my score. See, I've got a tab for each individual part. I haven't written anything, so they're all going to be blank. But see, there's my vocal part. Here's my guitar part. Here's my keyboard part, my bass part, my drum set part. Now, if I start writing notes in the score, oops. Remember I said not to write below E for bass? Whatever, drums we'll do later. But anyway, so now, see, there's my vocal part, has a note in it, and the piano, and the bass and drums still have nothing, but we're going to look at the drums now. But anyway, so you can set up your parts beforehand if you want, because as you write your score, they'll go into everything you write will automatically go into the parts. Normally, what you would do is write your score first, and then create the parts. The reason for creating individual parts is because, you know, if you want people to actually be able to play this, so you want to be able to hand a guitar part to the guitarist and a drum part to the drummer and a piano part to the pianist and so on. So clear. So file is where the parts dialog is. Okay, so now we want to look at the drums specifically. I want to zero in on the drums here. The drum notation on MuseScore, it's not totally ideal. It's okay, it works okay. It's not the best thing ever, but I'll show you how it works in general terms. So when you set up a drum set part, you'll get this weird clef that looks like an 11 for one thing. That's a percussion clef. Sometimes you'll see drum parts written with a treble or a bass clef, but it's really erroneous to do that because you know, there's no actual definite pitches. So this is our percussion clef. And then if I click on a note value, like let's say I want to start writing my drum set part here. I'm going to click on a note value up here. Let's see. Let's say quarter notes. Now look at this. You get this dialog down at the bottom here. So these are shortcuts for the main instruments that you'll need. B here, this is the bass drum. A is the snare drum. G over here is the closed hi-hat. Now I think in the Berklee workbook they said closed hi-hat is usually on the top space, not the space above the staff. Space above the staff would normally be the ride cymbal. So let's see. E is the high tom. Yeah, they've got the ride cymbal on as D on the top line. So that's a little different than the way Berklee has it set up. So, but let's build a little drum groove here, just to sort of show you how this works. So let's say we want to have, you know, quarter notes on the bass drum on beat 1 and beat 3. So I'm gonna come down here. I've already clicked on the note value, and I'm gonna come down here and click on B, and then so I have my bass drum on beat 1. Then I'm gonna hit 0 for a rest, and then if I want to I can click in the staff with the mouse to get my next beat, or I can just hit the letter B, and that's gonna, because I still have the quarter note selected here. Okay, and then I'll hit the rest again, and there I've got my bass drum on 1 and 3.
Is there
Okay,
a way to duplicate your bar if the next bar you want to have the same thing?
yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna get there. You're gonna copy. You just have to copy and paste. Um, so I'll show you that in a second. Let me just finish building this groove, and then I'll do that. Okay, so then I'm going to put the snare drum on the backbeat on 2 and 4. So the snare drum is A. It's uh, the third space, stems up. So I'm going to start with a, oops, hold on here. I'm going to start with a rest, and then, yeah, and then 0 for rest, and then A again. So there, I've got my bass drum on. This is like the most basic meathead rock beat. Now I want to put eighth notes on the hi-hat. So I'm going to come over here. G is my closed hi-hat rather. So I'm going to come up here. Now, something that I've found that's a bit of a problem, and let me just see if this happens as I expect it will. Yeah, see the snare drum disappeared? So that's a pain because it means I have to like put it back in now. And then when I do that, then the hi-hat disappears and I have to, so, see? But eventually you can get it. This is what I mean when I say it's kind of a pain.
So you just have to keep putting.
Yeah, eventually you can get it you can eventually get it to work. Um, yeah, see, but then I moved the snare over. Yeah, there's some wrinkles in this. That I haven't quite figured out how to work around yet. I think I have to play with this some more. Anyway, let's just say we've got this, and then if you want to just keep this going, um, you can Command C to copy, and then you can paste it multiple times. So it might be painstaking to create your groove to begin with, but once you've got it created, then you can um, just copy and paste it, and it will keep going. All right, so I got to play with that a little bit more and figure out how to not get it to erase notes once I've created them. Because technically, you should be able to have the hi-hat and the snare sharing and I feel like I was able to kind of make it work before. But anyway, maybe I have to actually do the hi-hat first. Anyway, I'll play with that some more and get back to you.